Bienvenidos a mi diario de Inglés Británico, un podcast para hispanohablantes que quieren entender inglés británico con confianza y progresar profesionalmente en el Reino Unido. Soy Shandon, coach nativo de inglés británico. Y sí, también hablo español. En cada episodio hablo en inglés británico real y conversacional, para que practiques tu comprensión auditiva y te acostumbres a cómo hablamos los nativos en la vida diaria. En este primero de 2 episodios voy a hablar del costo de vida aquí en mi ciudad, Londres, y de las cosas que la gente suele decir que son más caras mientras practicas tu listening en inglés. Te recomiendo que escuches este episodio más de una vez. No te preocupes si no entiendes todo. Cada vez que escuches vas a entender más. Vale, empecemos. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of this podcast to learn English. The podcast has reached double figures. This is the 10th episode and I am really proud of that. I hope you're ready to practice your English listening. Today I'm going to be speaking about my city, London, the capital of England and the UK. Specifically, I'm going to be speaking about the cost of living in London. Many people say London is a very, very expensive city, and that it's one of the most expensive cities in the world, which is probably true. So today, I'm going to speak about 5 things that people say are expensive in London. Then, in the next episode, I'm going to give my own opinions on this topic. So let's get started. So I've lived in London all my life. I've been here my whole life. So for me, London is just a normal city. When a place is your home, it's very normal to you and ordinary. However, of course, you realize the difference when you travel abroad. How much higher prices are in London, how much higher salaries are in London, and how strong our currency is compared to the currencies in other countries. As an example, 1 Great British pound is the equivalent of 5,000 Colombian pesos, more or less. So there's a big difference there. London has a reputation for being a very expensive city. So I'm going to speak about 5 things that people say are expensive in London. From conversations that I have, these are probably the 5 most common things that people say. First up, I'm going to speak about transport. People in London are constantly complaining about the cost of transport. They say that the tube or the underground is expensive, and they complain that driving in London is also very expensive. So people are constantly complaining about transport costs in London and the cost of getting from one place to another. The second thing that people often complain about in terms of the cost of living in London is rent. So the price of housing. Of course, buying properties, buying a house or a flat, which is what we call an apartment, is expensive. But that's not specifically what I'm talking about here. Here, I'm specifically talking about the cost of renting a flat. Okay, so you don't own the flat and you don't buy it, you rent it from somebody else that owns it. So renting a flat or renting a room in a flat and sharing the flat with other people. Often, people say that in London, you pay a lot and you get very little in terms of space, in terms of location, and so on. And often you pay a high price and you still have to share with many different people. So that's the second thing that people say is very expensive in London. A third thing that people complain about in terms of prices in London is food. So when I say food, I mean groceries and grocery shopping. So food that you buy to eat at home. Many people complain that every time they go to the shop or to the supermarket, the prices have gone up and that the prices just continue rising and rising. People especially have been saying this for the last few years, since COVID, since the coronavirus crisis. Number 4 on my list is eating out. So going out to eat in restaurants. Again, many people in London complain about this. They say that when they go out to eat in restaurants, they pay a lot and over time they've been getting less and less for their money. So smaller portions and also worse quality portions as well. So the food hasn't tasted as nice, a lot more very average food or even bad food that doesn't taste nice. Nonetheless, they still pay high prices is what people say. On top of this, people often say that the service is bad in restaurants too and in cafes or any places that people go to eat. This, of course, makes things worse. Often, you don't mind paying money if the service is good and the staff, the waiters, are very friendly and welcoming. So the waiters and waitresses, if they're friendly, you don't mind as much. But if the service is bad, so they're not friendly, they're not very nice, they're not very welcoming, plus the food is bad, plus the food is expensive, this is what we would call a recipe for disaster, and nobody's going to be happy with that. The final thing on my list for today, number 5, is the cost of drinking at bars and pubs. Of course, drinking alcohol and going to bars and pubs is the favourite pastime of a lot of Brits, a lot of English people and British people. And people have been saying that the cost of having a drink at a bar or pub has continued to rise and is very high nowadays. For example, many people complain about the price of a pint. So if you don't know, in England, a pint is beer. Okay, we drink beer in pints. I say we. I don't because I don't like beer. But those who drink beer in England, they drink it in pints or half pints, but usually in pints, okay? Which a pint is 568 milliliters, okay? So people complain about the price of a pint and paying £7 or more even for a pint. Because of these prices, people say that it's difficult to truly enjoy yourself because it's too expensive. Okay, so there you have 5 things that people think are expensive in London and that Londoners often complain about. Transport, rent, groceries, eating out, and drinking at pubs or bars. In the next episode, I'm going to give my opinions on whether I think these 5 things are expensive in London. So make sure you listen to that. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Gracias por escuchar este episodio de mi diario de Inglés Británico. Ya has dedicado tiempo a tu aprendizaje hoy, y eso suma más de lo que crees. Poco a poco, tu inglés va a mejorar. Si vives en el Reino Unido y sientes que tu inglés te está frenando profesionalmente, te invito a hacer una evaluación de fluidez profesional gratuita conmigo. En esta sesión, analizo cómo hablas inglés hoy, identifico exactamente qué te está bloqueando y te explico qué necesitas trabajar para hablar con más claridad y confianza. No es una clase, es un diagnóstico claro y honesto de tu inglés hablado. Escríbeme por mensaje en Instagram para reservar tu evaluación. Dejo el enlace a mi cuenta en la descripción del episodio. Gracias y nos vemos pronto. Bye.